Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show, where we share innovative thoughts and explore deepening truth in the support of the path to unity and enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour, we'll be looking at evolution requires sustainability. It hardly makes sense to evolve spiritually if our planet becomes unable to sustain us. While our current lifestyles of unchecked consumerism threatens to drown us and the earth in our own garbage, it's unrealistic to expect the entire global society to revert to sticks and stones or an indigenous lifestyle. Sheer number alone make that impossible. We need a third option, one supporting responsibility and sustainability, one that's spiritually uplifting and aesthetic as well as leaving a small footprint. And we need to find it fast. Time is of the essence. Our guest this hour has some interesting thoughts on the subject. Marci Zaroff is the author of ECORENAISSANCE, a lifestyle guide for co-creating a stylish, sexy, and sustainable world. Marci is a pioneer, visionary, authority, and serial entrepreneur who has built cutting-edge brands and companies such as MetaWear, Farm to Home, Good Catch Foods, Beyond Brands, Under the Canopy, and the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. For nearly 3 decades, she has used her platform to speak, teach, innovate, and publicize her passion for living, breathing, and thriving in an eco-life with style. Her website, marcizaroff.com. Marci, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thank you so much for having me.
What is your educational background?
Well, I actually have a business degree from UC Berkeley, but I was the kid with the lemonade stand who always had kind of was wired as an entrepreneur, and I discovered the brand Aveda at a very young age, and it really struck a chord in me. And so with my entrepreneurial wiring married with my passion for leveraging the power of business to affect positive change, I set out on this journey, and 3 decades later, I'm still going.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot there. What would you call your area of expertise?
Yeah, so, I actually don't have a fashion degree, even though I've now founded 3 different companies that are built around fashion and home and apparel fashion. But I would say my expertise that sort of connects the dots between food, fashion, beauty, whatever business I am actually building, it is connecting source to story. It's understanding how to think out of the box and build innovative supply chain models that are paradigm shifting, that ultimately are sustainable, that can be connected back to the media, the front line, the consumer, the retailer, and to tell those stories, and that, authenticity, transparency, these are things that I've built my career on. And of course, they're front and center today, and even the, largest corporations in the world.
It's certainly changing out there, the corporate world. The whole atmosphere and driving force behind it is really shifting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I often say this isn't even about staying ahead anymore. It's about not being left behind. The internet has changed the game so much because you can pull the curtain back. You can unveil the human and environmental impacts of the decisions and the choices that we're making as consumers. You can ask questions: where's my food coming from? Where's my clothes coming from? Who's making it? How's it being made? What's in it? And that has really become a catalyst so that the old days are over. You can't hide anymore. You can't make things up. You can't, pretend that your product is good, because if someone uncovers that's actually doing harm, that word will get out. So I think today, if you're not thinking about sustainability within your business strategies as a company, you're going to become irrelevant, because transparency is now so fundamental to a consumer's mindset.
So how did you become interested in sustainability?
Well, when I was 15 years old, a friend of mine, who I actually talk about in my book, bought me a book called Living in the Light, and by Shakti Gawain. And it really just resonated, and it made me think about, there's more than what we see in everything around us. And so I just started to self-teach, myself. I started to buy books and go to conferences. As I mentioned earlier, I was introduced to the brand Aveda, which really embodied that very premise that, you can build a business on people, planet, profit, passion, and purpose, and that it's not this or that. Sustainability is not something that should be viewed as, you have to make a sacrifice, or, there's something that you have to give up to have sustainability. It's something that can be embedded into businesses, products, and services as value add, so that it's not, why would you be thinking about sustainability? It's more, why wouldn't you be? So for me, this journey, again, starting with Aveda and then just continuing to study this space, and, I'm going back, 25, 30 years now, it just made so much sense to me. And I was like, it's not an if, it's a when people catch on to this.
Yeah, well, historically, what's blocked green from becoming mainstream?
So there's really been three main stigmas. I think stigma number one is that you have to give up something in the process, that in fashion, you have to give up style or quality or fit or color or comfort. There's the stigma that it's crunchy, it's frumpy, it's boxy, it's beige, it's boring, it's made from hemp, it looks like a potato sack, and in the old school, it's not like this so much anymore, but it used to be the perception, if it was organic, if it was healthy, and, then it was granola, it was brown rice, it was tasteless, it had nothing, there was no gourmet component to it. And so I think the stigma one is that, that there's deprivation if you're embracing sustainability. And so that stigma has been broken. Clearly, we have to lead with, in the sustainable business, food, fashion, beauty worlds, we have to lead with, buy it or support it because it's a great product. It tastes great. It smells great. It works. It's beautiful. And oh, by the way, it's also organic, plant-based, GMO free, made ethically, and all the other layers on top. And then the second stigma is that it's going to cost a lot more. And I think, part of that stigma is just simple economics, that when business models are started, and the demand is not as great as the supply, there are added costs. But as we have learned to scale and become more efficient across all of these different business models and popular culture sectors, we have found ways to be more vertically integrated, to be more collaborative, to share costs. And today, we can be pretty close to cost neutral. In this country, as an example, Costco is the largest buyer of organic food in America. It's not Whole Foods, the whole paycheck stigma anymore. And so it's just forced the market to really adopt to, being accessible to the mainstream. And I think that's been a huge breakthrough for sustainable products. And the third stigma really is, how do I really know? How do you know that it's, organic or sustainable or, ethically made? And that has to do with a lot of the third-party certifications that have been born and supported, that people have learned about, like fair trade or organic, which is governed by the U.S. DA. It's a federally regulated program, the Organic Seal. And so it really comes down to consumer trust and knowing that if they're going to support, a better product that they're told is better because of, whether it's ingredients or its manufacturing methods, that they believe that claim.
So, now we are seeing organic products and natural beauty products showing up in Walmart, of all places. What is driving the change?
Well, in speaking about the internet and transparency earlier, it's really the millennials that, they're growing up where they want to know, they want answers, and they can get them. And so I think, 52% of organic shoppers are actually millennials. It's a $50 billion industry in this country that's been growing at double-digit rates. And yet, the number one reason that people typically will embrace organic food or organic products is when they have children. And if only 10% of millennials have had kids today, which means, let's say, 80% are going to have kids eventually, that growth rate isn't going backwards. It's not going away anytime soon. And I think the retailers are really seeing that, this is the future of their market. And if they don't stay relevant and they don't adapt to what today and tomorrow's consumers want, they're not going to be able to be competitive in their space.
It used to be that going organic was considered like a fashion or for the granola types, and it is getting more mainstream. Are people really starting to recognize the health benefits?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, science is such a catalyst for people to embrace and believe in, claims that they might read or hear or see. And so there's a lot more science going into the space. I mean, the Organic Center for Research and Promotion, you have, the Rodale Institute, as well as, a lot of schools and universities are studying plants right now. They're studying agriculture. They're studying these things and they're talking about them. And I think, information is really key. And so it's just the beginning. And I think the more demand there is, which is growing, like in America, we have 12% demand for organic products and we only have 5% supply, which means we're importing 7% of the organic products in the market today just to meet the demand of the consumer. So it's, yeah.
It's going to be time for a commercial break. Marci and I will be back after this commercial break. So you're listening to the Mission Evolution Radio Show, coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution Radio, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. Remember, past episodes are available on our website, missionevolution.org. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and our guest this hour is Marci Zaroff. Her website, marcizaroff.com. So, Marci, tell me, what is an eco lifestyle with style?
It really comes down to no compromise. My career has really been dedicated to bridging worlds. So when I started my journey, it began in food, and I lived in New York City. I co-founded a school that's known today as the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which has now certified over 75,000 people as health coaches worldwide. But when we started, people were coming to the school because they thought, oh, I have to, go and learn about this because I'm trying to heal something. And, there was almost this like resistance. And today, so many people are going there because they see how it can enhance their lives to be thinking preventatively. So it's really about no compromise and teaching people that you can have great taste that's also healthy and better for you. And in the case of eco fashion, when I coined the term eco fashion in 1995, those worlds were very dichotomous. People who were into fashion were very prejudiced about people into the environment. They were like, oh, those people are tree huggers and, they have no style. And then likewise, people who were conscious beings and environmentalists and humanitarian looked at the fashion industry as very superficial, materialistic, and those people have no soul, right? So to me, I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm both. I can't be the only one that wants to look good, feel good, and do good in the world. So, my career has been really bridging the tribe and the fashionista, the tree hugger in the boardroom, and bringing worlds together that you can have it all.
Can there be a certain amount of compromise, though, or reevaluating our values? Because we have become a narcissistic, appearance conscious people to the detriment of a lot of our richer aspects, spiritually speaking. Can we start to share that information instead of be so polarized?
No question about it. And that goes back to, bridging worlds, right? So in my book, I highlight 41 people who I call my illuminartists. These are my modern day Michelangelos of the eco-renaissance. And because of this, obsession in our society that people have with watching other people's lives or, reality TV, even all the way up through politics, it's like people are looking for places to kind of watch, right? And so these people in my book are, they're influencers. They're all people doing amazing things in the world, and through their personal lives, their personal choices, their business lives, and their businesses, they're literally people that go watch them. I encourage it. I want you to go check out their website and go and be inspired, really. So I think it comes down to, educating people and inspiring them and activating them around, good choices and good businesses and good products, and how they can vote with their dollars and they can be a part of the solution instead of the problem.
Beauty is an interesting thing. Because I think back to, even the way my Lakota teacher would use colors and beads and beautiful things when he was making his sacred objects. The same thing we see in churches and synagogues and stupas. Beauty is always part of spirituality. How is that playing in here?
Well, my mentor for over 25 years was the founder of Aveda. And he was a real revolutionary, and he was really ahead of his time in the sense that, he understood that you have to appeal to people first and foremost at a visceral level, and then you can draw them into, the rabbit hole and pull the, layers of the onion off and inspire people around, plant-based wisdom, ancient traditions, Eastern philosophy, Native American wisdom, and I think it's important from the lens of beauty, and which is really the premise of my book, EcoRenaissance. It's through the lens of design and beauty we can change the world. If you strike that first visual, or you resonate with somebody from beauty coming from within, it's a vibration, it's a just really making them feel that sort of radiant energy, they will want to know more, and I think that for me within EcoRenaissance and this focus on appealing to people through the lens of redesign, through beauty, through taste, through scent, through style, I think that's a very important way that you can educate people where they aren't so scared, because many people are just paralyzed about entering this eco-renaissance, this sustainability movement or consciousness revolution, just because they're scared, right? And so you have to meet people where they are.
What are they afraid of?
Change. I think they're afraid of being inconvenienced. They're afraid of making changes that are going to, be difficult. And I think there's been a lot of misinformation around sustainability not being attainable. That you have to be really rich to buy, eco fashion or organic food, or that you have to, be a diehard activist, environmentalist to embrace this movement or this way of thinking. And, in the book, I talk through every one of my chapters, which starts with art. Art is the language of the eco-renaissance. It is the foundation, because we are all creators and we can create whatever reality we want. And then I go into food, I go into wellness, beauty, fashion, and business. And the common theme through all of those chapters that links all of these spokes in the wheel of change are creativity, connection, community, consciousness, and collaboration. And that's like the DNA of the movement. So I think that as you approach people, with fear, who are, in fear, and you make this very accessible, affordable, authentic, fun, sexy, cool, then again, going back to what I said earlier, it's not why, it's why not.
Well, when you were talking about beauty before, you were speaking, when I was listening to you, it seemed like the beauty you were speaking of comes from within and radiates outward. It's not something you can paint on or Botox on. How can we get beyond going backwards, like trying to put it on the outside rather than having it come from the inside?
Yeah, well, this whole movement is about making people think. It's about making people feel. It's about, if you approach people without preaching, but instead just teaching by example or serving or, hand holding and just guiding with light, I think at the core of who we all are, we recognize that that beauty and change is not something that is about, Botox or, it's about feeling good. It's about being happy. It's about feeling love. It's about feeling fulfillment, passion, purpose. And these things don't come from, a product necessarily that you buy. And I always have said, it's not about the products that I'm even creating in my businesses. The products are the vehicles for transformation. The products to me, the businesses I create are there, and that's why I can go from food to beauty to fashion, because they're all guiding lights. It's not about the shirt, but the shirt has to be really cute. It's not about the lotion, but the lotion has to smell good and be functional. But it's really about what's behind it and telling those stories. And then that goes back to what I said. My passion and sort of my forte is connecting source to story, doing well by doing good, serving others because it's serving myself. And really, the opportunities and the potential for this movement are limitless.
So it sounds to me like the fashion, the beauty, the things that you are offering through your products are really the bridge, because it takes people from where they've been and starts to shift their perspective as to what can be.
Yeah, well, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is right. We start with food. That's one of our basic needs. Everybody needs to eat. So how do we use food as a force for change and a force for positive and sustainable living that gives people what they love and seek, but also makes a difference to human and planetary health, farmer and worker welfare, and future generations. So in the name of, Albert Einstein's quote that we can't solve today's problems with the same consciousness that created those problems. So we have to change our consciousness, and we have to recognize that, it's not about never buying anything again, because that's not realistic, or never eating. That's not realistic, or, not buying clothing or having clothing. It's about how do we have win-win solutions that are good for the people that are making our products or growing them, for ourselves, for the businesses that are selling them, and then ultimately for our children and our children's children.
So that would really change, we're about out of time for this segment, but that would really change our approach to advertising. Rather than trying to trick someone into buying something they don't need just because you want to make money, you're putting out the truth of the product. Is that kind of the shift you're looking at there?
No question about it. We can no longer talk at people. I mean, that's the whole thing about engagement. We're all in this together. We all live under the canopy of the planet's ecosystem together. We're all interconnected. We're not outside of nature. We're part of nature. We have a symbiotic relationship with nature, right? So we breathe out carbon dioxide, and nature breathes it in, and nature breathes out oxygen, and we breathe it in. We're interdependent with our environment. So
we're going to have to pick up on this interdependence on another side of yet a short pause. Marci and I will return to our discussion. So right after this break, you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologist, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show, www.missionevolution.org, bringing the latest tools and information to support the path to enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and our guest this hour is Marci Zaroff. Her website, marcizaroff.com. Marci, why do you emphasize fashion, art, and beauty?
Well, I am a big believer that design is a powerful force for change. I think that when you lead people with great design, appealing to them from a place of that's beautiful, that looks good, that, that's something that's appetizing, that's something that, intrigues me, that's something that I want, then it becomes, all right, so plant that seed. And once you plant the seed of consciousness, it inevitably grows. There's sort of this, as soon as you say, oh, and by the way, that happens to be plant-based or, GMO-free or made without any toxic chemicals. And then people are like, what? Wait, what do you mean? And all of a sudden it makes them realize, wait, what does that mean about when I'm not thinking about that and I see something beautiful? So I think it's the seed that becomes the initial talking point that then you can activate people with.
Yeah, because, considering sustainable living for many brings to mind hay bale huts and coarse homespun clothing. And that's not real appealing, is it?
No. And that's what's held the movement back for many years was the disconnect that you have to give people what they want in the way of design first.
Well, you have to bring people from where they are to where they need to be, don't you?
Yeah. And I live at the intersection of food, fashion, and beauty, and I see it in all of these areas, right? So with food, one of my brands right now is a plant-based seafood brand, and I even see it when we're serving people and we say, hey, try our tuna fish. We haven't launched the brand yet. It's launching in December, but we've done a lot of tastings and a lot of shows and events. And so, you see people taste it and go, wow, this is delicious. And then we say, oh, by the way, it's plant-based. It's made from 6 beans and algae oil, so it mimics the nutrient profile of fish without harming the fish, without the mercury, the microfibers, the plastic, and all the toxins in the oceans. And then you get people go, what? But it started with this tasted good. And the same thing with every one of these products and sectors.
Yeah, I'm giving away my age here, but I remember the first forays into organic candy bar, not candy bars, but, granola bars or organic this. It was like eating cardboard. And, you can't even get your saliva going when you're trying to eat something like that. So I'm glad to hear it's coming around.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I started my school in 1990, there were just a few brands and a few companies and, beans, grains. I mean, there was the foundational pieces in this sort of Whole Foods movement. And, today I think, it's a far cry from that when you see, everyone from Target and Walmart and Costco and Kroger and, every major multinational brand and retailer today is lining their shelves with organic food. And of course, every major mass market retailer from CVS, Dwayne Reed, Walgreens, they're moving their chemical products off the shelves and making room now for, more eco-friendly beauty products. And we're starting to see in the fashion industry, which gets me very excited, pinching myself all the time, everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid now because they realize this is what they need to do to stay relevant.
Yeah, I mean, because I think everything's getting so transparent, it's hard to miss the fact that the way we've been doing it isn't going to work much longer.
That's right. Business as usual is not sustainable.
Yeah. So you've mentioned this a couple times since we've been talking. What does it mean to live under the canopy?
So in Native American philosophy, the canopy is our ozone layer, and that, represents the protection of life and future generations. In the rainforests of the world, the canopy is the top layer of the rainforest. So everything that provides the ecosystems that, generate the oxygen that we depend on, because we depend on oxygen from our rainforests. Almost 50% of the world's oxygen comes from these ecosystems. And so we have to protect the canopy to protect the rainforest. And of course, going back to, we all live on Mother Earth together. We all share, and live under the canopy of our planet's ecosystem together. So, Native American wisdom, always says, we do not inherit this land from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So, it is our responsibility to vote with our dollars, to recognize that our clothing is not growing in the department store, our food is not growing in the supermarket, that people's lives are being affected, and our environment is being affected by the industries that we're supporting. So let's shift those paradigms and support good business, good products, good companies, so that we can create a sustainable reality for our future.
You speak of reconnecting to the earth as a first step in flourishing and thriving. How do you get people to do that?
Well, look at the farm to table movement, right? I think there's a reason it's taken off, and people are now wanting to know, what's in my food. And I think that you have to make it very practical. And I think, you have to make this movement something that matters to people. And when they start to learn about, the magnitude and multitude of chemicals that are going into their food, beauty, and fashion products today, suddenly they're like, wait a minute, that I didn't know that, or that the government would never allow this. If this was okay, I'd be protected. But if you look at the rules in places like Europe over the United States, so many chemicals are banned in other countries around the world, or even GMO seeds, or they're banned. And here we just, look at what's going on today. With coal burning, which is going to create more mercury, which is going to further pollute our oceans with and acidify the coral reefs, right? Because with mercury in our oceans and people eating fish, where do you think that mercury is going? Tuna are the highest up on the food chain, and they're also the most heavily they include the most amount of mercury. So it's affecting us. The choices we make are affecting our own state of health and well-being.
Yeah, I've had European friends come to visit, one Australian lady in particular, and she couldn't eat the wheat here. She couldn't do the dairy here. She was absolutely appalled. And it wasn't like she was just fussy. It's like she'd eat it and she'd get sick, and she says, what's in this stuff, And that was before GMOs came to this, became public knowledge. And yet she could do fine on the breads and dairy in Australia. And I had the same experience in France, in Germany, in Switzerland. I could eat all of those things. I was fine. And I come back here, and increasingly I cannot. Why are we letting this happen?
Politics, follow the money. I don't think that it makes any sense, which is why I do the work that I do, which is why I'm trying to educate people to make better choices. Because, we all have to be part of the solution, and we have to demand better products and healthier products. And unless we do, and if we become complacent, industry will just keep doing what they're doing. And there's no coincidence that we have the highest rates of autism and cancer in the world. And we also have the most toxic, industries in terms of, not thinking about farming and agriculture, not thinking about, pollution. I just know with autism, I mentioned my sister's son, my nephew, is autistic and lives in New Jersey. And when he was diagnosed 10 years ago, the statistics in New Jersey were 1 in 10,000 boys. And today I think it's 1 in 26 boys in New Jersey, something like that. And New Jersey is one of our, the states with the most industry. This is not a joke. This is not, this is serious stuff here. And I think, the way that our health and our environment are being compromised, we can't just depend on government. Government moves way too slow. We have to, we have to look at how can we demand change and vote with our dollars as I keep saying, because it's so important, and and support the brands and companies that are doing well by doing good, that are making a difference.
Well, there's one example in Hawaii. They were going to implement daylight savings time, and they changed the clocks, and nobody showed up to work. And so they still don't have daylight savings time. It's like that kind of continuity has power.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people get comfortable with what they're told is okay for them. But you look at, countries around the world that have built into their systems, like recycling. If you don't recycle, you get fined. How much emissions, fuel emissions from your car determines the taxes you pay at the end of the year. I mean, there are systems around the world that are incentivizing people to make better choices, but here, that consistency is not necessarily a good thing, right? Because what do we see? We see McDonald's on every corner. We see, just a proliferation of chemicals that are in all of our products. And if you don't believe me, start reading the labels of the products that line the shelves of a lot of mass market retailers. And my rule of thumb is if you can't pronounce it, you either shouldn't buy it, wear it, use it, eat it, or you should at least research it and find out what it is.
Yeah, find out what's in there. Well, we have to regulate ourselves ultimately, though, don't we? We can't expect the government to take care of everything.
That's right. We have to take responsibility for our own state of health and well-being and that of our families. And I think that's another reason you're seeing this movement, growing the way it is. I think more people are waking up. My new favorite word is woke, because that young generation has access to information, and it keeps coming back to, the internet propelling this whole movement forward because of, transparency is the new black.
It is. Well, it's time to take another commercial break. Marci and I will be back shortly, so don't you dare go away. You're listening to the Mission Evolution Radio Show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. We will return, so you stay with us now.
Heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, Xzone Radio TV. For more information on the Xzone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show, www.missionevolution.org, bringing the latest developments in an evolving world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. I always love suggestions from my listeners. Email me at info@missionevolution.org to propose a topic or a guest that's on your mind. I'm sure we'll all enjoy them. Our guest this hour is Marci Zaroff. Her website, marcizaroff.com. Marci, how do you feel this new eco-renaissance movement as helping us to evolve as individuals? It seems like we've been doing a lot of devolving health-wise and everything else. Would you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the reason that so many people are walking around today feeling unfulfilled or, depression or turning to prescription drugs or, is this sort of emptiness, this disconnect with ourselves. Because if we're not connected to nature, there is a disconnect that's very intuitive. We are not outside of nature. We're born, we grow, we evolve, we flower, we die, right? And, I think there in our essence, at the core of who we are, and you think about the first organ in our body that, comes to life is our heart, right? Because the heartbeat is really, what we should be following is, our gut is the lifeline to who we really are. And I think we've gotten so far removed from that. So in the eco-renaissance, while I speak through the lens of design, really it is about activating people from that deep level, from that core where they can be in resonance, where they're aligning their professional and their personal values. Because I think at the core of who we really all are, we don't want to destroy, pollute, exploit. We don't want to, create, a toxic environment. We don't want to make this world worse for our children. At the core of who we are, we don't want any of that. So then why are we so disconnected? Well, if you start to hold people's hands and help them find their way back home, it's very, it feels right, and it feels like, hey, I don't want two sets of values. I want my values to be aligned. And that's why so many people are jumping ship out of, a lot of toxic corporations today, looking at how do I take my skill sets and apply them to something I believe in, something I feel good about. So when I go to work every day, I'm a part of that solution. I mean, my favorite quote is "Work is love made visible." It's from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet. So if you love your work, it's not work, it's love.
And then you're putting love into the world rather than resentment.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is an eco-renaissance artist?
Yeah. So, we are all at the core of who we are. We're also all creators, and we're also all, we all have the ability to create beautiful art, whether that's music, it's business, it's, dance, it's cooking, it's whatever our art is. And so, an eco-renaissance artist really is, I'm looking at people who are tapping into, using their platform to really inspire that change and to be role models. And they're thinking about the, ingredients that they're using or the words that they're saying, and they're realizing that those those choices have an effect, right? Law of attraction, that, if they put out positive energy, then they're part of a collective positive force, right? And I think we're starting to realize that, by the fact that we are made of energy, that everything that we do, we choose, we buy, we wear, we think, we say, is all an extension of ourselves, and ultimately a vibration we're sharing in the world. So an eco-renaissance artist is an artiste who is like really out there, living and embodying the principles of the eco-renaissance: creativity, consciousness, connection, community, and collaboration.
What has living non-sustainably done to our ability to evolve spiritually?
Well, it's broken us from, that very clean, positive energy and our ability to flow. So much of what we put in, on, and around our bodies is destructive to us. It's harming us. I mean, if you saw the amount of chemicals, is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about eco-fashion, is, as I've learned about the amount of chemicals that are going into the textiles that we're putting on our skin. I mean, our skin is the largest organ of our body, and it's our primary organ for absorption. So it's not just what we eat, it's also what we wear, or what we sleep on, or right. And all these chemicals are breaking us down. So, when you think about being out there and not having, the best way to say this is, if somebody's, goes on a vacation, or they go, or go into nature, and they just drop in, that feeling that people have when they drop into nature, that feeling that they have when they're feeling connected and they're grounding, at the core of who we are. But, when we're moving so fast in today's world, and we're layering ourselves with things that are harming us, intuitively, it's very subtle. And remember, we haven't necessarily tapped into the full science of consciousness. We're studying it through quantum physics now, right? But at the end of the day, why do birds all fly in unity and thrive? Why do, fish all swim in schools and thrive? We've gotten so disconnected from our intuitive nature, and our ability to thrive collectively as humans. And I think we're just now starting to wake up to that, and we're living in a modern day Star Wars, where the dark and the light forces are kind of at odds, where a lot of people and the dark energy is resisting this, but there's a lot of light out there today, and it's just continuing to try to make progress and bring more people into that light.
It's surely transformative times, isn't it?
No question about it.
Yeah. How can we each become reconnected with our creative spirit?
Yeah, it's finding your bliss. I go through an exercise in the book Eco-Renaissance about, tapping into that very that energy that makes you smile when your eyes are closed and you think about it. Where are you? What are you doing? How are you feeling when you're channeling something effortlessly? And I think it's really about finding that through meditation, through yoga, through exercise, and specific methodologies that exist out there today. I mean, a lot of people, when they're not feeling well, they don't think twice about going to the doctor, right? Because the doctor is going to help potentially guide you to physical improvement, right? Well, likewise, if you're feeling broken, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're not in your flow, then there's so many tools in this toolkit of life that can support you to find that place where, love, light, and peace, right? What else do we want? We want, we want to live, we want to be happy. I mean, that's our nature. And I think, finding your creative spirit where you can channel that absolute effortless bliss is so fundamental to feeling fulfillment in our everyday lives and in every moment, because every moment is a choice.
I love nature, and I'm always out in it. I live in it. And I watch the animals, and it's not like the deer goes, oh, I've put on a couple pounds. I'd really like that nice juicy grass, but I better gnaw on some bark. No, they follow their joy. They follow their instincts. They follow what calls to them. And isn't that what we've gotten away from to our detriment?
No question. And that is, that's the essence of my book is, I want to bring people back home. And, and my thought is, I don't know which spoke in that wheel is going to activate them if they're not already, somewhere on the spectrum, which they likely are, but it's really about, what's going to strike a chord for somebody, what's going to resonate. Is it going to be, the way they're doing business? Is it going to be, the things they're eating? Is it going to be the beauty products they're buying or the clothing? And people are coming into this renaissance, this rebirth of humanity from so many different lenses, and this awakening and realization that we're all part of one ecosystem.
So how much does our intuition and being able to re-access our intuition through following our joy have to do with the guidance we need during these transitional times?
It's critical. It's critical. I mean, we have all of the answers within us. I mean, people forget that, even in science today, I think only 3% of our DNA has been uncovered, and the rest of it's still being bucketed as junk DNA. But, there's a code there, right, that's very, very deep about who we really are that we haven't necessarily been able to define yet. But it's about getting back to that place where you trust your gut, where you follow your heart, that you live in you live from a place of believing in your own answers and not looking outside of yourself for someone to tell you what to do, think, and be. And I think our society, because of, at least in the last generations of, from television to advertising, going back to what you were talking about before, there's so much of that has been just brainwashing and being told things that just don't make any sense to us. But yet people do them anyway, right? Because somewhere, somehow, it's a belief system that was adopted. But at the same token, it doesn't feel right. And I think today, just, connecting that dot back to, information that we have and access to, and transparency, we can check those things out that don't feel right. We can find communities of other people that actually believe what we believe, and suddenly we have that validation. And I think, it's such a new day for humanity. It's such an exciting time to be alive because we've barely scratched the surface of what's to come.
Well, it is an exciting time to be alive, and unfortunately, we're out of time. Marci, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully everybody will, become a part of the eco-renaissance and be a part of that better world for all of us.
I hope so, too. Our guest this hour has been Marci Zaroff, the author of ECORENAISSANCE, a lifestyle guide for co-creating a stylish, sexy, and sustainable world. Her website, marcizaroff.com. Remember to join our email family to stay abreast of all the exciting new things we have coming up at missionevolution.org. This has been Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. Join us next time as the mission continues to bring information, resources, and support to an evolving world.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.